something I'm very excited about. This is a new membership product for Van Roosel Ventures. The reason this came about is because we were listening to our community, and we so frequently get individuals who ask us questions through LinkedIn, or just clients that we've worked with in the past where analysts or accountants or controllers just reach out to us and just say, hey, can we just ask you a question? And so we really wanted to create a platform where people felt free to come and ask questions, and also a platform that is really aligned with our values. So we do a lot of work for impact companies, social impact, nonprofits, but also for-profits that have a strong impact bent. And those are really important to us. You know, it's very much aligned with our values, and we want to be able to service them even when they either, one, can't afford to participate in some of our higher end packages, but also to be able to work with them. You know, we're really passionate about being able to share our knowledge and our insights of what is going on in today's world, in finance and accounting, and how we scale companies both in the US and internationally. And so this is really a product that fills a gap between just providing free answers and free products to our next biggest product, which is, you know, which we call Scaled by Numbers, which is a 3-month kind of a financial acceleration product where we look at the financial platform of a company and work for 3 months with the CEO, the COO, the board to tackle 2 or 3 big rocks and resolve them for the company. So this sits right in between there. And so I'm really excited about launching this. This will give a little bit of a taste of it. And I think potentially very soon we might do another one of these. So thank you so much. Here we go.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you as well, face to face.
I'm great. I'm really excited. We are literally hours away from going, not live, but we're going on the Deep Link on a Canadian crowdfunding platform, which is a really big deal for a small business like myself.
Yeah.
You know, as you can tell, I'm in a basement, so I'm bootstrapping this ice cream company on a beautiful 5-acre organic farm. And one of the reasons why I've connected with you on LinkedIn is we share a lot of the similar values and principles in the way you speak and kind of the messages that you communicate. So I created this company because it's directly inspired by my upbringing. So my immigrant parents who have been, you know, brought organic farming over with them and started this in the early 70s, well before organic farming was a thing, you know, before it was trendy. And so they just raised me this way. And I truly thought it was normal. I didn't appreciate it so much until I became a mom. And when I became a mom and I was a consumer and I started reading ingredient labels, and it was the first time I really took notice of what we were purchasing in the grocery store and the choices I had to make to feed my children. And so I started Better with Ice Cream because I wanted to raise my kids with ice cream that I trusted. You know, I was very confused when I was in the grocery store and I thought I was buying ice cream, but it was called frozen dessert. I didn't understand how it could look like ice cream, taste like ice cream, but not be called ice cream. And from the perspective of being a consumer, I felt very angry and betrayed. From a mother perspective, I knew that there could be better products. And then I was already an entrepreneur at that time. So that just created this incredible energy in me to, you know, create something that didn't exist in the marketplace. And so you're in the States. Better With is the equivalent of, my biggest competitor would be Haagen-Dazs.
Okay.
So Haagen-Dazs is a premium ice cream product that is made with no gums. It is a hyper clean label. It's an excellent product. Better With is actually similar as far as mouth experience, texture, but we result in a lower sugar product. So there's, because I'm actually creating my flavors using real natural ingredients, I end up with less sugar as a final result. So
okay, that's great.
A premium ice cream product that, my family was used to in Europe. It's like a French custard because it has an egg yolk in it. And then I just ultimately wanted to make sure that I could, be successful at launching this so that other people could enjoy it as well. So now that we have a national co-packing agreement in place and my margin is ready and I finally have a team, I've made the decision to do crowdfunding because we're ready to scale.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, it's definitely top of mind for me right now, which is why I'm asking it. The other reason why I'm asking it is truly because of my past. So my product is excellent. I'm the definition of a very passionate entrepreneur that wants to bring this product to market. And I have had a lot of struggle in raising capital because I've had people that have just constantly wanted to dilute me very aggressively, very early on. I don't see how that benefits a founder. And if anything, I think it really kind of demotivates a founder when people start with negotiations at 45 to 49%.
Yeah.
I understand that this is a long game. CPG is new for me, but when you're so determined because your product is that good, you really want to make an impact.
Yeah.
And I really feel that because of my innate connection to how we should eat food, how we should produce food, how important it is to incorporate better food choices to become healthier societies and communities, I feel I add a lot of value to the company. And, I just demotivating a founder in my position makes me very uncomfortable. And that's actually the prime reason why I'm doing crowdfunding. And so I just wanted to have that opportunity to ask you that question because this is not going to be my only raise. And I'm hoping that as I grow, it's going to be the fact that I did this is going to be inviting to VCs, and hopefully they'll see the value in the product and in me and what we can do together.
We can jump straight into your question.
Great.
What do VCs think about crowdfunding? And I think there are multiple avenues to look at this or to think about this, because it's not just, funding doesn't just come from venture capitalists. It can come from angel investors. It can come from venture debt, bank loans, SBA loans in the US, that I think, I'm sure there is a similar format in Canada as well. And I think what you've talked about no dilution or less dilution, I think VCs would agree with this, is that, every company needs to grow themselves as much as possible so that when they do raise equity, the valuation is as high as possible. And I think in the past, when there was, companies kind of came along and there wasn't a whole lot going on from if it's a B2C company that, they are looking more for product market fit. They are looking for clients. They are looking for some level of revenues to lower their risk. Crowdfunding. So a lot of times VCs will work, or venture debt funds will work with VCs, and they will do raises where the VC raises the equity, the venture debt fund comes in and gives some extra cash, kind of growth cash on top of that. And they like to do that because the venture capitalist has done a lot of the due diligence, and there's kind of an institutional backing behind there. there are venture debt firms as well that take smaller amounts of money and that really look at bootstrapped companies that haven't raised any equity. Maybe they have a small business loan already from a bank or from the government, but because those might tend to be longer term, they can be looked at more as equity in that sense. And then typically when there is already a loan at the company and it's B2C, they might actually say, look, instead of going the venture route, do crowdfunding first, get the valuation up higher. So, what do VCs or the venture ecosystem think about it? I think that they understand there is a tension between, the valuation that the company wants to reach and the valuation they want to pay, and that crowdfunding is just one more way to get the valuation up, but also to solidify the product market fit inside the marketplace. And so it lowers the risk for the eventual investment, and there'll be less dilution because the valuation is higher.
I totally agree, which is exactly why I decided to do this now. And the ice cream industry, especially in the States, which is my obvious next move, is a tremendous opportunity for Better With, especially in the premium ice cream category, because it is trending. And I think that there's an opportunity for everybody. So it's not dilution that concerns me. It's more not taking advantage of a bootstrapping entrepreneur in the very beginning and undervaluing the company or undervaluing that opportunity. So for me, it's okay, right now, let me prove this product, let me prove myself in this space. And then hopefully it gives future VCs that comfort. And because in the beginning, I'm in the death funnel, right? So despite how good this product is, I still have a lot to prove, and I'm very aware of that. So I'm hoping to do this with this raise, and then replicate the model and work with dairy farmers in the US and expand there too, because that's truly where the opportunity is for the company.
Yeah. I think whenever you raise the money, though, they'll want to see some kind of, they'll want to see a model with projections, and understand where your revenue is going to come from. So, what are the distribution channels? Who have you signed up so far? And a lot of times they will want to give you money when you're at the point of acceleration. So you've got back office systems and processes in place, and they'll say, okay, great. If we give you, I'll throw it, I guess, a smaller number out there, but let's say 3 million. Then they'll want to say, okay, how are you going to use it? When is it going to be used up by? Meaning, if you think you're going to use it in 24 months, then your next round needs to be raised in, say, 18 months. So you still have a 6-month cash cushion left. And they'll kind of work backwards. But I think, getting that crowdfunding done, and the only thing I would ask you is, are you going to give any equity there, or is it going to be new product that, people can get with their investment in the company?
This platform is equity crowdfunding, and I'm offering a safe. So for this round, we're offering a safe, which of course I'm sure you're very familiar with.
Yeah.
But I'm nervous because I don't think a lot of people in Canada, being such a conservative marketplace, are that familiar with safes. Yeah. So I'm nervous on several reasons. However, I hope that because it's ice cream, which is obviously very relatable, I can kind of take away a little bit of that risk and that stress. The pandemic has been excellent for our business because more and more people, firstly, ice cream was surging because it's a comfort food. And the pandemic, if anything, it's heightened awareness of better products and better food and how important that is. So it's actually been, last year, 2020 was a very strong year for me. And this year has shown in my local marketplace where we've been able to properly support the growth, because we had travel restrictions and we couldn't support the growth on the mainland as well. It was harder. Currently we're at 90% year-over-year growth during a pandemic. So it's a good time for me to do this raise. The company needs the funds anyways, but ultimately I've been able to grow despite being limited. So before, I personally devoted a lot of my time in doing demos, and I felt that that was a really great way to connect with the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
So because we can't do that anymore, haven't been able to for the last 18 months, we've just been very aggressive on doing promos, and the consumer has organically found us that way. And that's been really beneficial. But I'm hoping that with this raise, we not only have enough money for more product, for production, but we also have money for the first time to properly market and spend money on advertising to really grow the awareness and heighten that awareness and take it well beyond this local market that I'm in. Because I'm with a national co-manufacturer, so their expectation is growth.
Mm-hmm.
My promise to them is growth, and I'm determined to grow nationally that way. So, but honestly, it's hard to grow in as a small company in a space like ice cream. Frozen aisle is the conversation I've had is it makes a lot of VCs very uncomfortable. They all know that frozen is a challenging aisle, and they think the worst about the margins. And of course, the competition that I have, like Haagen-Dazs, are as old as I am. These are very established companies and very established brands. So, but I'm feisty, I'm determined, and the product stands on its own. So I really believe I can do this.
Yeah, I think you can. I see lots of new, kind of unique, bespoke, not necessarily in the ice cream section, but other sections that aren't the big brand names anymore, because people are really interested in, farm to table and organic,
exactly,
and understanding, really understanding the supply chain, which cow gave me the milk that's in this ice cream. And I think that's going to increase more and more.
And that's how we connected on LinkedIn. So the big goal for me once we scale is traceability, bringing the farmer to the table. It's personal because it's paying homage to my dad, but really respecting the farmer and paying a premium for his milk, because that's what the market is prepared to do. And I think the market is going to become more and more comfortable with that because of the pandemic. So I really think the pandemic was on my side, and it accelerated this, not only this message for the consumer, but it heightened the awareness and that educational component. So it was really good timing.
Yeah. What, what's your preparation been like for the fundraising? So if apart from the crowdfunding, if a venture capitalist came to you right now and said, I want to give you 10 million, but I need to see your data room with all your documents and models, how prepared are you?
Front Funder has a data room. So there's a very lengthy due diligence process. They have made this such an incredible learning experience and opportunity to set me up to have everything organized and be ready for that, which is really interesting. Aside from all the legal preparation, but having the pitch deck ready, having the forecasting ready, all the budgets ready, I wouldn't be going live if that wasn't done and approved by the team. So I've been really impressed, not only with the process, but the people that work at Front Funder. I'm going to Vancouver tomorrow to meet the team for the first time in person in Vancouver. They've just expanded into a new office there. So, I'll follow up with you and tell you how that goes. But they have made this process so enjoyable that it was very much 2 months ago, it was very much an unknown. And now I'm tremendously comfortable, far more knowledgeable, and feeling far more ready to take the company to the next level because of the stuff that they've required me to do. Plus, I've had to put together a team to help me do it, which is great.
Yeah, no, that is great. Yeah, I saw from your website that you have or you sell from stores both in Canada and in the US now.
Nope.
US
So
yet?
Better With is exclusively only in Canada right now. And because there are such big dairy tariffs, there really isn't an incentive to sell across the border. So in order for me to be in the US, I'll have to set up a US company, work with dairy farmers in the US, and produce in the US. And I will definitely do that. That is where the big opportunity is to scale the company for sure. The other opportunity in the US that isn't here is the direct to consumer opportunity. So Amazon, for example, doesn't even ship ice cream in Canada. So not only does it ship ice cream in US as a product that you can purchase, there are several online platforms that just sell premium frozen ice cream products or frozen novelties. We don't have any of that in Canada. We just don't have the population density, right? It just, the economics don't work. So there's a tremendous opportunity to be in the US and launch a brand that way, because then you can find from their website analytics who's purchasing your product, where that pull is, what that velocity looks like. So that's a lot of information that can give you value when you're pitching grocery stores and what market to enter first. But obviously, this California is as big as Canada, right? So I've been really keen to do this crowdfunding raise now in Canada and then follow up with one in the States in the spring, because FrontFunder, which is the Canadian crowdfunding platform, actually has a relationship with several US crowdfunding platforms. So they've already introduced me to them. And they want to do this in unison in the spring. And I really love that idea, because I honestly think it makes way more sense for me to focus on expanding along the Pacific Northwest and focusing faster into, let's say, California, than focusing on going into Ontario.
Yeah.
But the connections that I've made in LinkedIn, like yourself, I've actually specifically asked people experts, people that have expanded successfully their CPG companies, and they have all told me not to do that. They've all said, focus on growing a profitable, strong Canadian-based company first, and then get into the States second. Because I'm as far west as you can go in Canada, right? Like it's like 2 hours for me to get to Seattle, so which has a tremendous population density versus like even going to Calgary. So I really love the idea of going south faster, but it's not the advice I've been given, because I really feel that I could get into the States, produce a dairy product that gains traction faster. Because I had a TV show before in my former business, I actually have a fan base in the US. They're already asking for my product. And so I feel like I could generate this awareness for the brand and leverage that, which could help this marketplace as well, right? It could help the Canadian marketplace, but that's not the advice I've been given.
Yeah, when I am working with companies that have entities in multiple countries. It does complicate things, and I was actually going to bring up the fact of if you have what is the actual the optimal tax structure that you want to have. Where do you want the investors to invest into? Do you want most of them to go into Canada? Do you want them to go into the US? Do you want to create a holding company somewhere? Which country is that? Where, if somebody in Europe wants to invest, where would they invest? Would it be through Canada or the US? And I think once you go beyond that first entity, setting things up really well at the beginning is key, because otherwise you're going to have to go back and restructure and close things and open things, and every entity needs their own financial books, and it gets more complex. So I think part of maybe the hesitancy from other people is because of the complexity. And you'd get pulled in a couple of different directions. But I think, testing it out, going to Seattle and trying to launch there and see what happens can be an interesting, I think, way to go, once you've done enough research.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the assessment is with once this campaign closes, because that'll, I think, give a lot of information as to not only where the investor is coming from, if it's primarily in my backyard, or if there are investors that are wanting to attract better with into Ontario, for example, if the interest is there. So that's gonna give me a lot of information. I just honestly, I see it as leveraging the marketing. So as I was mentioning, a portion of the use of funds is going to go towards way more marketing efforts for the first time, and so being able to tell that story and the story of the story into that US market where they know me better. I honestly, I see that's a tremendous leverage opportunity. But I also really respect people that have done it before me that have been successful, and I want to make sure I listen to those people, and I do it as right as I can, so that it's a good investment. I take full responsibility for that, and that I'm accountable to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think if you think of venture capitalists, if you're successful in Canada and you can prove it, then they would be amenable to investing for the expansion into the US. But if you're kind of a little bit in Canada, a little bit in the US, and then you say, I want to accelerate both, they might think you're trying to do too much too quickly.
Yeah, that's ultimately the consensus that I've gotten. Mm-hmm. So I think frozen makes it challenging. It makes it extra challenging, and expensive, and I have to take that into consideration when going into a marketplace like the US, where the frozen competitive space is much more aggressive. It's much more saturated, and I really have to go in strong from a position of strength.
Yeah, and potentially you want to have the right connections in the US to really kind of drive you into a couple of big retailers, and get you on, kind of the premium shelving. Anything else I can answer for you?
No, you definitely summarized the same, like the same feel. It's like everyone, the thing that's great is that everyone is saying the same thing. And so that's making that there's less confusion, and it's just giving me that real perspective to just stay strong, build this marketplace, become profitable here in Western Canada, then grow into Ontario, where my co-packer is, develop that marketplace, and then reconnect with you and the US market, and hopefully be in that marketplace in 18 months from now.
Okay. That would be great. I mean, definitely keep me up to speed on how you progress and everything. And if you
I'll let you know how.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and I'll let you know how the raise is going, the campaign is going, and how the meeting goes tomorrow. And it's a new opportunity for me, and I'm so far I'm really enjoying it. It's been great, and I'm relieved to hear from you that at this point in my journey, crowdfunding is not going to impede the opportunity of VC funding in the future. It was the right necessary step for me to take to grow and increase the valuation of the company.
Yeah, yeah, and I think one thing that investors don't like is like a crowded cap table. So keeping the cap table very simple is also, that's one thing to focus on as well.
The one thing that I don't know if this aligns with other crowdfunding platforms, but this entire campaign is going to take up one line on the cap table.
Yeah.
Right. So, which I thought was critical for future opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, James.
Yeah. No, you're welcome.
Really appreciate the invitation, and I hope I can serve you some ice cream one day.
Great. Well, we do have a couple of other questions that have come in. One of which is from Dave, who is in Wales, in the United Kingdom. And he is the co-founder of an enterprise software company. And he's been running that for quite a while now. And his question was, what would encourage investors to consider investment in a 20-year-old company over a brand new startup? And that's a great question. And it aligns a little bit with the conversation we just had as well, which is bootstrapping a company to the maximum valuation possible before raising equity and starting that dilutive process. I think some of the answers would be similar. What would encourage an investor to look at this? I think you're always looking for the right investor. So you're looking for an investor that is, that is interested in a company where the founder and the management team have a lot of entrepreneurial experience, which I know Dave does. Somebody who has started multiple companies, who's has succeeded many times, but has also seen failure and has learned from that. So I think the team is really important. I think, once again, having, if you've been around 20 years, having a clean cap table is also important. So it doesn't need to be cleaned up. I think having a good storyline as well, what have you been doing the last 20 years and why is now the time to reach out to investors, whether that's a VC, a family office, private equity, angel investors. What has changed? What's the pivot? What is causing the company to all of a sudden massively accelerate their growth? I think investors are always interested in the exit. So when is that going to happen? And how big could it be? And one other thing as well that entrepreneurs will always tell you is that don't start a company unless you can figure out how, when and how you're going to get out, because you want to start with the end in mind and then work towards that end, so you're not meandering along, which can happen very frequently. The other thing, of course, is are we seeing margin growth? What are the systems and processes in place to scale? Is there a good model in place? What valuation are you putting on the company? Those are really the usual KPIs to look at. But I think, the encouragement is really the team and what has caused the pivot here that makes this a very attractive investment. And many times companies are great investments, but they're not VC investments. So a VC is looking for 100x or better, but there are lots of family offices, small PE firms that, really look at bootstrap companies that are profitable, that have multi-million in revenue, and have and have been profitable for many years because they know that there is product market fit, and so they just want to better understand the acceleration. So those are my thoughts initially, but can dig deeper next time as needed. I also one aspect that I'm doing a lot with clients right now as it is beginning of November, is that we're smack in the middle of budgeting season. So, you know, having that calendar ready of when does it need to be approved by, when's the board meeting in December, sometimes in January as well, depending on how you run the company and when the fiscal year is. You know, and having the best practices in place. So having that learning document of what did we do last year, what could we have done better. And there are two aspects that this year I've kept coming back to with clients, which is when you do your goal setting, your OKRs, which typically happens in August, sometimes in September, make sure you don't just set up corporate OKRs for the whole company. Because if you have teams, if you have functions, you need to make sure that they have their goals as well. So at the same time as you do the corporate OKRs, you want to do the department or division or team OKRs, because otherwise you're going to ask them to create a budget, to think about who they need to hire and how they need to be resourced to get to certain goals. And if all you give them are corporate goals, then they're going to try and figure out their own division or team goals. And if that hasn't been agreed upon, there's a lot of confusion. Things are going to get delayed. It's going to be really frustrating. So, you know, that gap of making sure that early on you get those department goals set is key to success. The other thing that I see a lot of is this idea of the run rate. So when you might have, you know, if your budget this year was 2 million, you could say, well, 2 million divided by 12 is 180,000. So our run rate is our burn rate. Our run rate is 180,000 a month in total expenses. And so, you know, in December of 2021, we're going to be 180,000. And that is usually not the case, because over time, if you've been growing significantly, that is turned into an average if you hit your budget. And so it's really important to understand, what is my run rate going into next year? Which, if you thought your budget should go up, you know, 20% at 2.4 million, but your run rate is already at 300,000, not 180, then you're looking at a 3.6 million budget, and you know, you need to generate more sales or more philanthropic income. This is something that you know, is really important to think about. So those are the questions. Thank you for joining. This was wonderful. I hope this gave you a little bit of a taste of what the membership could look like. And I look forward to seeing everybody again soon. Thank you.